Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I haven't filmed in a really long time, but I thought I would do a video on running. I'm not an advanced runner, I'm very much a beginner, but I thought it would be quite useful for people that are wanting to get started running or are thinking about maybe completing a 10k or for people that are considering entering a race or a run. This is just a little disclaimer. I have not got the full knowledge to give to people on running. I'm just simply explaining my experience and giving advice based on what I've learned personally. I have always wanted to do running. I've tried it numerous times and failed miserably. I was never comfortable running. I always felt out of breath within about 2 seconds. My cardiovascular fitness was probably really terrible, which is really strange because I used to really enjoy circuit training and HIIT sessions, but whenever it came to running, I just seemed to be terrible. I remember my PT in Stoke, he always used to try and get me to do sprints on the treadmill, and within like a minute I'd be like, I can't go on, I'm really struggling, and he would be like, shut up. I have wanted to give running a go for a while. Before I made the decision to leave Stoke, I was considering entering the next Stoke half marathon, which is called the Potter's Half, and then I changed my mind. And yeah, I always wanted to go running, but like there was stupid things preventing me from starting it. So like I lived on my own in my flat and I was worried about my keys. So I was like, well, where am I going to put my keys, because I don't want to carry anything around me. But there's obviously like really easy ways to solve that, like getting a little pouch to wrap around your waist. There's loads of things. I think I was just kind of using any excuse. And then just before I left Stoke, I came across 2 Instagram accounts of 2 guys that were local in Stoke. I don't want to pronounce them wrong, so I'm sorry if I do, but it's Marcelino, I don't know. But his Instagram is calisthenics_runner, and I'll link him below. And there's also the Instagram account shutter.runner. It's Farai. I hope I got it right. But these 2 guys, they inspired me so much to start running. They literally go running God knows how many times a week. Like Marcelino, I really hope I'm getting the names right. But Marcelino, he sometimes just like he'll order a takeaway. He's got a treadmill in his house and he will run on the treadmill for as long as it takes for the takeaway to get there. He does little things like that, and like he does a lot of like outdoor running, and he's really fast. I'm not sure like how fast, like obviously I'm not experienced in running, so like for me like he's super fast. Like he does his kilometers take about 4 minutes 20, I think it is. So yeah, in my opinion, like he's super fast. So for me, my like kilometers usually take probably about 5 minutes 40 to 5:55 on a bad day, and that's usually like how long my kilometers take. But his are like 4 minutes 20, so it like completely puts me to shame. I noticed their Instagram accounts when I was living in Stoke, and they did a lot of the Hamley Park runs. A lot of parks do this. They have like a park run every Saturday or Sunday or something, and it's just like a 5k fun run type thing. It's just like quite relaxed from what I've like gathered. But I would probably recommend, like, if people are just starting out, to start out with park runs and stuff, because it's a really useful way to get like into running, and I'm guessing you have a really good support system around you. I've personally never done a park run, but from what I've seen, it's a really good like environment. If you're a beginner, it's really motivating, so I'd probably suggest that. Whereas for me, I used to just do 5k runs on a treadmill just to get the general idea of what time I could do it in. When I was younger, I did a lot of the Race for Life, and I was doing those in about it was taking me like 45 minutes to do a 5k run, and now I'm like, Hannah, that's so bad. Yeah, then I started doing it on the treadmill, and I was getting it in like, I think my best time for a 5k was probably about 26 minutes, so like that's pretty good. Well, like for me anyway, that was pretty good. I hadn't done running in a long time, and I made the decision that I really wanted to add a marathon to my bucket list. So before I die, I really want to run a marathon. Now I've read a lot of articles online and stuff, and a lot of people are trying to dissuade people from doing a marathon because they say it's not actually good for your body at all. And I know there is a lot of research that shows that like road running isn't good for your body, and I have noticed that since I've started running I've got a lot of pain in my right knee. You have to be really careful. I think it's just being really mindful of your recovery and your rest, like stretching, nutrition, and like a lot of things play a part in like your body remaining like well and functional. Running can have a bad impact on your body, but if you deal with it in the right way and support your body in the right way, then hopefully you can combat that. So I decided that I really wanted to do a marathon before I die. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do a marathon, I have to start somewhere. So I've obviously done 5k runs before. I know my body's capable of that. So I thought I'll build myself up. So I will do a 10k run. So the very start of the year, I'm talking literally New Year's Day, I was like, okay, I am going to enter myself into a 10k. So the 1st of January, I entered myself into the Great Manchester Run. So I thought I don't want to push myself too much. I've never really done road running before. I've only ever done it on a treadmill. So I want to start off with a 10k. I did my run for Teenage Cancer Trust. Now, I've read up a lot on this charity since obviously entering to run for them. And it's such a good charity, you know, what they do is incredible. There are so many teenagers that get diagnosed with cancer every year, and it's just insane. I'm 23 now, and I completely take for granted the fact that like I have spent 23 years of my life, like, you know, I've had the odd health issue, but I've never had anything like a serious disease. And you know, there are a lot of young people that are going through cancer and having to have chemotherapy, you know, undergoing like insane treatment. On their website, it says that 7 young people are diagnosed with cancer every day in the UK. 7 young people. The Teenage Cancer Trust are obviously providing a lot of support. You know, you can't imagine what these young people, like the challenges they're facing when they're undergoing like this treatment. When I was reading up about their charity, like I really supported like what they were doing. So my first tip for running for beginners would be to start small. So start with a 5k. Aim towards that. Don't go for speed. Just try and get the miles or the kilometres into your legs. Just get your body used to running. If you want to, start on a treadmill, but I would recommend starting on the road as soon as possible. I would say start small, start with something like 5k, or you know, maybe even something as small as 3k, then work your way up to 5. When I wanted to do my 10k, once I'd entered the run, I then built it up as I went along. So I wasn't aiming for speed, I was aiming to just try and get the kilometres into my legs. So I went from 5 to 6 to 6.5k to 7 to 7.5. I think I went all the way to 8.5, and I was just doing that on the treadmill. And then finally, after 8.5, I decided to finally go outside. And a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people are like me and have this weird fear of running outside, but I was so afraid of running outside. And then once I did it, I was absolutely fine. So I'd done the 8.5k on the treadmill. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to try and do it outside and see how far I get. And I didn't think I'd be able to even do 8.5k because I'd done it on the treadmill. And I thought it'll be totally different when I do it outside. And then the first time I did it outside, I got 9k, or just over 9k. So I'd managed to do even more than I'd done on the treadmill. And then after that, I was like, okay, I need to make it to 9.5. So once I'd done that, and then my next aim was obviously 10. And then when I did 10, I think I did 10k twice over outside. And then I was speaking to someone at work, and he had done running in the past, and he said, you need to get over the amount you're aiming for. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, if your aim is 10k, he was like, you need to run like 11k or 12k. He was like, so that you know that you're capable of doing the 10k, and then if there's anything on the day that you need to factor in, like temperature or like injury or like anything that might happen, you know your body's capable of doing more than 10k, so your body can reach that easily. So I was like, yeah, okay. And then I think I did like 10.5 or something before the actual 10k. And yeah, I kind of wish I'd done a bit more, because on that actual day, the only time I'd ran in the heat was the second 10k that I did outside, and it had been really hot that day. I waited until about 8:30 at night before I went for a run, so that like it had really cooled down a bit, and that was like the only heat I'd experienced running in. And then on the actual day of my 10k, it was about 24-25 degrees, and we were running like direct sun, and the heat was honestly horrendous. But I'm not going to get into that yet. My first tip would be to start small when that comes to speed and when it comes to the distance you're aiming for. So build up the distance and build up the speed, because as they say, slow and steady wins the race. So yeah, that would be my first tip. My second tip would be to enter a race or a run. So enter something so you've got something to work towards. If you're interested in getting into running, it's always good to enter into something so that you've got the challenge there for yourself, so that you know when you're training you're working towards something. Especially picking a charity that you're passionate about, you know that you're running for those people. For me, knowing that I was running for Teenage Cancer Trust, I read up a lot on their charity, and I thought, well, what these people are going through every day within their treatment or in their like illness, how I'm feeling on a run, if I struggle on a run, I know it's nothing in comparison to the things that they're experiencing. So I would definitely, that's probably number 2. Number 3 is probably enter yourself into a run, whether that be a park run or a charity run. That's a big motivation for me. If I've got something to aim towards, it makes me more motivated to go out and do the run or to go to the gym. Or the third tip I would say is to, if you're going to do a charity run, pick a charity that you're passionate about, because when you're running it really does help to think about the people that you're running for. My best friend Sophie, she just did a 10k as well, and she got an insane time on her 10k, and she's not into fitness and she's not into running at all. Like, I know she trained a little bit, but I knew she didn't train like a lot. And I was like, how have you like got that time? And she was like, I just kept thinking about my nan and like the struggles that her nan had with her health, and that really helped to push her forward and push her through. And I think, yeah, it's really good for your mindset to consider the people that you're running for and the charity you're doing it for. In terms of diet and nutrition and supplements, I didn't really follow a nutrition plan when it came to like training for my run. I think a lot of people do it when they run further distances than just 10k. So probably for training for a marathon, you would really need to look at like diet and nutrition, because that would really help for like repairing your body quickly and ensuring like you were doing everything you could to prevent injury. But for a 10k, I didn't feel like I needed to worry as much. I definitely noticed a lot of people take supplements and stuff. The only supplement that I decided to take when I was training, because I already, before I did any running, I already have clicky hips from when I was dancing when I was younger, and I'd never really noticed anything else in my body that was wrong. I just know that I've always had a bit of hip pain. So I decided to take the supplement, and it's this one. My camera's not focusing, but it's glucosamine sulfate, and it's good for increasing the fluid around your joints and like your cartilage and stuff, but it's to like prevent injury. Glucosamine sulfate is supposed to help prevent joint breakdown, it's supposed to reduce pain. And when I first started running, I experienced quite a bit of knee pain. It wasn't really like full on pain, it was just a bit of a twinge, or I don't know how you describe it, but I would just be like, oh, that feels a bit uncomfortable. And then on the day of the run, the actual 10k that I did, it got to about 2k and I was really feeling really sore on my knee, and I was like, oh no, like it was getting a bit more than just a twinge. And then I kept running, and like eventually, you know, your head gets into the run, or like other things are bothering you more, so my mind was kind of taken off the knee. But I've noticed that a lot of the runs I've done recently, it's my knee that probably feels more irritated than anything else. But I think that like I haven't noticed as much in my hips, and I don't know if the supplement has helped. My next tip would be to do with tracking your runs. My mum bought me a Fitbit, but I do know that tracking exercise can be quite like triggering for people, especially for myself. I used to be quite obsessive about exercise and stuff. So for me, if I track, like if I go on the scales, or if I track my exercise too much, or like the calories I'm burning, or if I track the calories I'm eating, like it can be really triggering for me, and I get quite obsessive about it. So I try not to track so much, but I did enjoy tracking my runs just to see like the distance I was capable of running, and like to keep an eye on like the speed I was running. Every run is different. Like any workout you do, it'll be different from the previous workout you've done or from the next workout you'll do. You know, you might be feeling really sluggish one day, you might be feeling really energized the next day. You don't know. There's a numerous amount of factors that could come into play. I would recommend tracking just for like if you want to track distance or your speed or anything like that, but I wouldn't. If you're getting obsessive about it, don't do it, because you know you want to run for the good reasons and not for like running to burn calories or anything like that. Like I never take note of the calories that I've burnt in a run. I would just rather know the distance that I've done or the speed I'm doing it in, just to see like if I'm getting any faster or if I'm getting any slower, and like why that could be. So another thing to do with like diet and nutrition, like I said before, I don't believe like you really need to have like a nutrition plan for running unless you are an advanced runner and you go running every single day, or unless you are training for a marathon. But I know a lot of people have like pre-workout or like post-workout things for running. For me, I'm really old school. Like I would just have like a black coffee maybe like an hour before I go for my run. I try and get a bit of a sugar hit before I go. Like a banana. Bananas are great for giving you energy. But I personally don't take a water bottle out with me. I would rather just have a bit of water before and then have some after. I think for training for a marathon, when you're doing much longer distances, you would probably need to take a water bottle out with you. For like a 10k, you don't need to take water with you. I think, you know, your body can do without the water for like an hour. Just make sure like as soon as I finish the run, I would hydrate myself as quickly as possible, and before the run I would try and make sure like I'd got some water in my system. On the day of the run, you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know about what the weather's gonna be like. You don't know, you know, you've got to be prepared that anything could happen. And on the day of my run, the weather was so hot. Like I have never, that was probably the worst run for me. Like I had trained quite a lot for this 10k and I just was not prepared at all for the heat that we had. I wore this top that was obviously the Teenage Cancer Trust top. I wore this top and I had the leggings. Like I have a favourite pair of running leggings that are like quite high-waisted. I prefer high-waisted leggings for running because they don't fall down as easy and you don't have to mess about pulling them up or getting irritated by them. Like they just stay where they are. So I had like my running leggings on. I had like my running trainers. Obviously like running trainers are probably another big tip. Like you need to get a good pair of running trainers to support your feet, and they probably help support your joints a lot as well, especially for road running. Another tip would be to get a good running playlist, because I find that really motivates me. I know that different people like different things when they're running. So like my auntie, she doesn't like having anything in her ears. She likes being completely aware of like her surroundings. Whereas for me, like I have to have something in my ears because I get really conscious of my breathing. Some people listen to podcasts or audiobooks, so just whatever helps motivate you or like push you through, because you will experience on different runs, you will experience like moments when it gets really hard, and it's always going to be like a certain track that'll help you to carry on running, or I don't know, something to take your mind off it. On the day of the Great Manchester Run, there was the half marathon and there was also the 10k, and I knew someone that was running the half marathon, and he said that a lot of people in the half marathon were like fainting and being like taken away in ambulances. And like that's just to give you an idea of like how bad the heat was that day. I mean, people abroad probably like, shut up, typical British, but for running in that heat it was so hard. I think it was about 25 degrees or something. The track, I don't know how you describe it, but like the track that was set out for like running, it was completely like in direct like sun, so there was like no escaping it. There was like little bits on the road where you could go onto the pavement and be a bit more in the shade, but like a lot of the people that were standing around the track, the people that were like were working at the run, were trying to move you out off the pavement, and so people weren't getting any shade at all. There were 2 different points on the run where people were handing out water bottles, and as I said before, like I don't take a water bottle out with me normally. If I've got anything heavy on my stomach, I immediately get a stitch, so that's why I can't have water when I'm running. There was 2 bits in the run, I think it was about 4k and 8k or something like that, where they were handing out water bottles, and I took a sip of it and then like doused my neck with the rest of the water and then like chuck it to the side. That's what they told us to do. But obviously the heat was so bad that like the water really helps, like on my neck, because it cooled me down quite a lot. And obviously like having a little sip of the water like rehydrated me or whatever. They were also giving jelly babies out at certain points, but like I tried one and I was like, well, like I wish I'd never had it, because like I don't know how I'd be able to eat during a run. Like it just made me feel sick straight away. It was like really dry in my mouth. It was horrible. And they also had Q103 had put 2 mist showers at different points in the run, and these were like heaven. Like you were running through these showers. I was worried because I had my phone in my hand, but you were so hot. I was like, forget it, like I need to go through. So my aim for like the end of the run was to like sprint once I saw the finish line. But in the last 400 meters, like the heat had been so bad from like 7 to 9 kilometers, like it was at its worst. And obviously that meant the last kilometre was even harder because you just had 2 kilometres of like really intense heat. So that made like the final kilometre really hard. And then it got to like the last 400 metres. And like when I could see the finish line, all I wanted to do was sprint, but like I felt so sick. And like I'm really worried about being sick in front of people. So like the heat was just too much basically. And I just had to like run at the normal pace I was running at, which was hard enough. So most people when they go for a run, like they have like a kind of good idea of, the whole point in training for a run is to get a good idea of the time that you're capable of running it in. So I knew that like I wanted under an hour, but I didn't give myself like a limit on that because I don't want to be disappointed. So I knew I could do it in under an hour, so that was my aim for the 10k. And on the day everyone was saying, oh, you know, forget like the time that you've aimed for, the heat will be too bad. But me being really stubborn was like, no, I need to get it in under an hour. And I managed 58 minutes 46 seconds. So I was obviously pleased with that because it was under an hour, but there was probably times where I could have gone a bit faster, but because of the heat, like it just felt impossible to do. I think I've covered everything about running for beginners and entering your first run. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below or message me or anything. So thank you for watching this video. I hope it's not too long, and please like and subscribe. I appreciate anyone watching my videos, and let me know if there's anything you would like me to do a video on. And yeah, I will see you soon. Bye.